Learning a foreign language can be very useful. It can open you up to new worlds and new ideas. It can help you broaden your horizons. It can help you understand different cultures. And it's actually also a lot of fun. But you know, the problem is that language learning takes time, and most of us simply don't have enough time. So how can you learn a foreign language if you've got no time? Well, I'll tell you a story. Well, over a decade ago, I found myself in Korean language training at the Foreign Service Institute. Yeah, that's the same Foreign Service Institute that once produced a series of well-known language textbooks and audio tapes. Anyway, at that time, my job was literally to go to class and to learn Korean. But as crazy as this sounds, it still felt like it was hard to find enough time. I mean, there were tons of distractions around me, just like there are today. Just look around me. In fact, I had classmates in that class at that time that couldn't even manage to do like their homework, let alone like do extra and try to like go above and beyond. They all claimed that they were just too busy. I mean, think about this. We were getting paid to do this. Anyway, I've learned over the years quite a bit about language learning. So here are 5 things that I've learned over the years that help me learn languages more effectively. So first things first, you've got to figure out a way to break it into smaller chunks. If you tell yourself that you're going to be fluent in a language by this date or that date, you are going to fail. The reason, of course, is that foreign language fluency is actually impossible to define. The more that you learn, the more that you'll realize you don't really understand. Actually, the more language I've studied, the more I've realized that I don't understand about English. So you're never, ever going to be able to accomplish something big if you keep looking at how big the task ahead of you is. You'll just feel intimidated and you'll give up. It's a lot more effective if you can figure out how to break that big task into smaller pieces and try to handle those pieces one at a time. That way you can slowly move your way up the mountain. This is one reason I strongly recommend that you start with a textbook if you're a beginner. A good textbook will slowly take you into the world of the language by teaching you basic vocabulary, grammar, and syntax at the same time. And of course, it's even better if your textbook comes with audio. Sometimes though, you kind of have to take what you can get and just sort of deal with it. Now, the reason why you want to break this into smaller chunks is not just because you don't want to be intimidated. No, it's also because you want to give yourself goals that you can actually achieve. So becoming fluent is not an achievable goal because you can't even define what that means. Memorize this vocabulary list, on the other hand, is an achievable goal. And the nice thing about a good textbook is that it will treat you like a beginner when you're starting out. If you try to jump into the deep end right away, things will feel overwhelming. On the other hand, if you take it one step at a time, you will at least feel the satisfaction of hitting your goals. Plus, the thing is, it's going to be much less of a burden if you can break it up into smaller and more manageable chunks. And that brings me to the second thing that I've learned. You've got to be consistent. In life, consistency is usually better than a sudden spurt of efficiency. No matter what it is, you'll usually see much better results long term if you do a little bit every day instead of trying to just do it all at once. Again, the real goal here is to have a realistic daily goal instead of trying to just do it all at once. So just like you're not going to lose 60 pounds in a week, you're also not going to become fluent in a foreign language in a week or in a month or maybe even in a year. But if you give yourself realistic short-term goals and then you do a little bit every day, you will get to where you want to be in the long run. And this is where Anki really helps out. Now, the nice thing about Anki is that it becomes an automatic habit after you've done it long enough. And of course, it's a natural way to set up a daily goal that you can actually achieve. Anki is the secret weapon to consistent study and review. And best of all, it's completely free. Of course, in order to be consistent, you've got to figure out a way to make that time every single day. And organizing and prioritizing your time is something that you will have to make a conscious effort to do. There are a lot of ways to do this, though I've always preferred using a daily calendar. You want to make sure you set aside a certain amount of time for your daily language study goals. If possible, you want to try to do it at the same time every single day. Even if it's only 15 minutes, it's better to be consistent than to take a long time. And I actually struggle with this one these days, mostly because I find myself spending a lot of time, writing and making videos, stuff like that. But that's not really a problem of having no time at all. It's just a problem of time organization. Social media can help you, sure, but it can also be a huge distraction. So pay attention to what you do during the day and ask yourself if you're doing that just to distract yourself. If you can turn your distracted downtime into something productive, you'll be able to make more progress. Now, one problem that you absolutely will run into is getting bored with the language learning process. In fact, this might be one of the reasons why you feel like you don't have time for it. It's not because you don't have time, it's because it just feels really boring and a burden. This is especially going to be a problem for you if you try to learn just through textbooks. It's boring. One way to stop yourself from searching for mindless distractions during the day is to figure out a way to make the process fun and engaging. Now, language learning doesn't have to be boring. In fact, if you're creative enough, it can be engaging and entertaining. There's nothing wrong with watching television as part of your language learning plan. You can also read comics or light novels or children's books or whatever you want. In other words, never fall for that trap of thinking that there is a right way to learn a language. The actual right way is whatever seems interesting to you. It's whatever is engaging for you. And if there's something that you do find interesting or engaging or fun or whatever, that needs to be part of your study process. Telling yourself that you have to do something is kind of a motivation, sure, but doing it because you actually like doing it is a lot more convincing. And the truth is that the process of language learning actually does become more fun over time. When you start really understanding what's going on, it becomes a lot easier to give yourself the motivation to move forward. And that brings me to my last point, and this is one that I actually get wrong all the time, including today, and probably will again in the future. You really, really need to slow down. Going at a slow pace that allows you to understand from the beginning really is the key to foreign language learning. It's also one reason why classroom learning alone tends not to work quite as well. Language learning is filled with abstract concepts that can be difficult to understand, largely because they're foreign concepts. But the more that you understand, the easier it's going to be in the future. So I can't tell you how many times I've found myself reviewing the same basic Korean grammar points over and over and over again. Why do I keep having to repeat the same thing to myself? It's because when I started to learn that language, I pushed myself ahead way too quickly. By the way, that's one of the downsides of getting paid to learn a language and doing it for your job. Language learning should make you curious, and you really need to give yourself the time to go down different rabbit holes. Remember that the important part is to actually comprehend what you're learning. Don't pay any attention to those courses that say you can learn this language in an impossibly fast amount of time. Remember that the journey is actually more important than the destination. And remember that there actually is no destination here. I mean, fluency itself, that is an undefined concept. Instead of that, think in terms of whether you can learn the vocabulary words in this chapter, or whether you can finish watching this episode of your favorite TV show, or whether you can understand this grammatical concept, or whether you can learn how to speak the language well enough to go talk to like that pretty girl over there, or something like that. I mean, take it a chunk at a time, make it fun, make it engaging, and you'll discover in the long term that you've got a lot more time to learn than you ever thought you did.